When I lost my mom, like it altered my brain. And she's like, I would give anything to exercise again. I would give anything. Towards the end of life, that's what people long for, is their health, especially in my mom's case, who was young. Like, I think I need to make more of an impact. I felt like I had to. It was bigger than me.
Welcome back to another episode of the Beyond the Scale podcast. I'm your host, Mary Catherine. And if you're new to the podcast, a little background on me. At the young age of 26, I started out as a member at Fit Body Bootcamp, and it quickly became the best part of my day every day. I used that passion and energy to open up my own location in 2017. Today, I have successfully opened multiple Fit Body locations, and I also serve as the community manager for over 225 Fit Body locations, as well as the host of the Beyond the Scale podcast, where we talk about everything related to health, fitness, mindset, and living your life not according to that number on the scale. I grew my career and my family at the same time, two things that require a lot of time and something that we can't seem to get enough of. My most important job is being a mom, and though balancing motherhood and work seems impossible these days. So glad that you're tuning in with us today. Today's guest is Madison Heard, who is a fitness enthusiast, speaker, and philanthropist, who owns and operates Northwest Arvada Fit Body Bootcamp in Arvada, Colorado. She has been in the fitness industry since she was 22 years old, which first began with a background in kickboxing. Madison has been featured in numerous magazines, voted Badass Woman of Arvada, and advocated for young professionals, leading them towards their own paths for business growth and success. She regularly hosts charity drives and loves giving back to her community. So welcome, Madison.
Thank you.
Maddie. I learned yesterday you actually go by Maddie, so yes. I apologize. We are going to go Maddie from here on out.
It's funny because like Madison is good, but when I first meet people, I'm like, it's Maddie.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah. Well, it's like me with Mary Catherine and MK. They're like, do you want Mary Catherine or MK? I'm like, whatever you want to call me. It's fine. Yeah.
It's casual.
Well, I'm so excited to be sitting here with you. Maddie and I are at a Fit Body Mastermind right now, and we got to have dinner last night, so I get to learn more about your ownership journey. Yes. But I'm excited to just dive deeper into that today. So walk me back, 22 years old, you started with kickboxing. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about that. Why kickboxing?
So I gave you the Cliff Notes version last night of why kickboxing, but I think it's important to go further back. Yeah. So when I was young, I did track and field, and I was in sports. I had a friend doing it with me. It was fun. I had a crazy coach. Yeah. And it was cool. And then when I got into high school, like my friend moved away, I was bummed. And then I started getting bullied a lot, like towards the end of middle school, right? So by the time I got to high school, I was dealing with a lot of anxiety and just overall, I was overwhelmed. So yeah. My parents wanted me in a sport, which is totally fair. Like my dad was a professional athlete.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, my mom was very hardworking. So they wanted me in a sport, college prep, totally fair. They wanted me to be involved in something. Yeah. But like the anxiety was so bad. And so you'd find me ditching practice, ditching meets. And it was just like, my parents were not happy.
Yeah.
Not happy.
Yeah.
So by the time I got to college, I just like, sports were not a thing. Like I gave up on fitness, kind of washed my hands of it completely. Yeah. And then I started to develop like really bad eating habits, partied too much, sleeping was bad. All of that was just ugh. But I finally was at the end of a really bad relationship, right? And then it forced me to kind of look at how I was living. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, well, I hear like fitness helps people feel good, right? I'll try that. So I tried running on the treadmill, running through my neighborhood and see, I'm like, well, we have a past with track, maybe that's the vibe. And I was like, oh, I hate this. Yeah. Did not like it. And then I started researching, and like I was drawn to group fitness and kind of high intensity training. Mm-hmm. So that's how I found kickboxing. And then they called me and I kind of evaded them for a month. I'm like, no, I'm not ready. Yeah. It's not the time yet. Yeah. And then I finally went in. I told my mom before, it was funny. I was like, if I die, you know,
this is where I am.
It's from this class, because it had been literal years since I worked out, like years. So I think anyone would have anxiety around working out again and like what would happen. But I did it. It went well. I called my mom, I'm like, I did it. I worked out and I did not die. It's fine. So yeah, that's kind of how I got into it. And I just really loved the group aspect of it. I loved the intensity of it because I had a lot of aggression to work through and all that good stuff. So that's how I found kickboxing. And then fast forward like 2 years later, they asked me to be a coach, and I was like, okay, sure. I'm like, you have the wrong person, but yes, I did it. And coaching was really, really hard for me at first because I was so shy and still dealing with a lot of, you know, just insecurities about myself. So like getting in front of a room of 30 people and coaching a class, that was hard, but I wanted so bad to be good at it, like so bad. So I worked really hard, and I, you know, was a good coach. And then fast forward to 2 years later, my mom passed away in 2018. She was diagnosed with cancer for the second time. Unfortunately, did not win the battle the second time around. So I think in my mind, I was, you know, before I was like, oh, I could open a gym. It could be fun. It was kind of like a thought in the back of my mind. But when I lost my mom, like it altered my brain for a few reasons. Obviously, one, this person was my best friend. She was my person. And secondly, because we would have conversations like towards the end, and she's like, I would give anything to exercise again. I would give anything to work out again. And I think just like towards the end of life, that's what people long for, is their health, especially in my mom's case, who was, you know, young and she was healthy for the most part, and just is cancer. So I think you long for your health and obviously more time with the people you love. So that's where my mind kind of shifted. I'm like, I think I need to make more of an impact and be actually serious about opening my own gym. So I
wow.
Yeah.
So it's like your journey kind of continued in her honor. Like
exactly.
I love that.
I felt like I had to. It was bigger than me.
Wow. Now, before you get to that ownership journey, because I know that is a journey to talk about, I want to go back in those beginning stages where you decided to try out kickboxing, but you were very hesitant. I love how you were in search of like a new lifestyle. It's like you knew something had to change. I need to change up my daily routine. My lifestyle is no longer helping me get towards any goals. I don't know what my goals are. But you were so hesitant. And often we say at the gym, at Fit Body, the hardest part is just walking through the doors.
It is.
And once you get through the doors, most people realize, wow, I can do this. Like there's other people here that had the same hesitation that I did, and I'm not alone. I can do this with them, and you have the support of the coaches. Talk to us a little bit about, you know, why it was the group fitness, why you loved that so much.
I think because, like you said, it's scary. You're alone. It's something new. And so I think group fitness, it's a community, especially at Fit Body. Like it is a vibe where you walk in and you're immediately accepted. And so I didn't want to go into a weight room by myself, and I was just like very intimidated. But for some reason, I'm like, group fitness, it's a group. So there's more of a sense of belonging.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, that's how I was. Like when I started Fit Body, I had actually never been to a group fitness session before, anything, group fitness class. And I was very self-motivated, but I was at this point in my life where I was looking for something more. I was looking for something that was fun, not just any other workout. And so when I went, it wasn't even the workout that I loved. It was just being there with other people. And the more I went, the more excited I felt about going. So it just became so easy to take care of myself and to make working out a part of my routine. Whereas before, it's like, you know, you start any new program and it's fun in the beginning and then you just lose motivation. At Fit Body, I'd never found myself losing the motivation because there was always those people there that when I showed up, like we were working out together. It was that family.
You're not alone.
Okay, so you fell in love with the kickboxing. You then decided to open up your own gym. How did you discover Fit Body Boot Camp?
So I was looking at a bunch of gyms, and my dad was actually one of the first people I talked to about it. I was like, I think a gym is what I want. And he was so supportive and so gung-ho. He's always supportive of what I decide to do, which I love about my dad. So we decided to open a gym together, and we were just doing our research, and he found Fit Body Boot Camp, and he sent it over to me, and I was like, okay, this is kind of what I'm looking for. Group fitness, it's a short workout, it's good community feel. And so, yeah, we just kind of went through the interview process, did our due diligence, and it just kind of fit.
That's awesome. Now, what would you say is the most challenging part of like starting a business? And you're young, so like I was, like when I started, I had no business experience, no leadership experience, really. Didn't have a background in fitness, loved fitness, but didn't have like the formal education in fitness. Talk to me about like your mindset during those beginning stages. Like what was challenging? What were you finding was like most rewarding?
So obviously, much like you, no business experience, no management experience, just going in it. And I think, we opened in 2020, and people expect me to say like opening during COVID was the hardest part.
Right.
But literally it wasn't. I think just because of everything with my mom, I was able to go through challenges a lot better and a lot headstrong. So I would say the most challenging part that I have found is just the work that I have to do on myself and continue to grow, because you can't really take any days off when it comes to becoming a better you, becoming a better leader for your team, for your clients. So I think just leaning into that process was really challenging for me, because I had to continue to get rid of bad habits and grow into healthier habits, because I noticed that when I would take any time off of working on myself, it was reflective in the gym,
in the business,
and in my team. And so I'm like, there's just no way around this. Like I have to work on myself. So I think that was the most challenging and continues to be, but it's great. It's a lot of growth there. And I think to your second question, the most rewarding is, being able to pull yourself through those challenges so that you're able to see the rewards, which is like a room full of smiling faces, a room full of people who are dedicated and working on themselves, and people are changing within our four walls. So I think that to me is the most rewarding for sure.
So I love how you're talking about just like working on yourself, and that personal development was the most challenging part in your beginning stages as a business owner. And that really speaks volumes to like you as a leader. Like we are currently at a Fit Body Mastermind right now, where the theme is just growing and evolving in your like leadership role and just investing in yourself. And so I think that's a great message for our listeners, whether you are a business owner or whether you're just an employee somewhere. It's like, if you want to grow, you really do have to invest the time in yourself. And I think that's just, great that you pointed that out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so any personal stories or experiences that have helped validate your decision to becoming a Fit Body owner?
So there's tons of stories.
Oh, I'm sure.
There's tons of stories. But I think they're all so unique and powerful in their own way. Like we have people who have battled cancer, who are currently battling cancer and coming up to their workouts. It's just crazy the level of commitment people have. And then we have moms going through postpartum, or moms working through pregnancy, people who have lost loved ones, people struggling with their mental health. It's like just all these stories, but what is really impactful is when people come up to you and they're like, what you're doing here is changing my life. What your team is doing has changed my life. And so I think that that's a true testament that we have some of the most important jobs in the world, and we're changing lives.
Definitely. It's so much more than just like that physical piece of working out. It's like spilling out into every other area of their lives.
Someone's lives, for sure. And like that human struggle is so strong.
Right. Are there any low moments in your ownership journey and that you would share that, there was maybe a learning experience that came out of it?
Yeah, I think every business owner or entrepreneur can say there's low moments.
Oh, sure.
1,000%. One that stands out to me specifically is when I was struggling to hire coaches, and it was me and 2 other part-time coaches, so I was just burning. And so I was experiencing extreme burnout at that time, and I remember specifically, I was at work and I was in the break room. I had texted my dad. I'm like, I'm not okay.
Yeah.
And it's like, I had felt that before, but this was the first time that I kind of like told him like, hey, struggle. And he called me right away. He's like, what's going on? And I just told him like, I don't think I'm cut out for this. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know if I'm good enough for any of it, just kind of questioning everything. And I think it was just nice to communicate that. I wasn't using my dad as a resource. I wasn't using other owners, and just have someone listen and take actionable steps. It made it seem like less cataclysmic than I was making it, you know? And so I think I took a lot of learning lessons from that particular moment. One is reach out for help. I never in a million years thought that I would be someone who struggled to reach out for help, but I was. I was definitely doing that because I wanted to be everything and do everything. And then the other lesson is just like pouring into your team, because that way you can delegate in areas instead of like mother helicoptering everything like I kind of wanted to.
Oh yeah, me too.
Yeah, because you're like, oh, are you going to do it as good as I can?
Right. Right.
You have that trust, but when you let go of that, then your team trusts more in themselves. They trust more in you. And when you have a strong team, you can impact more lives. So a lot of learning lessons in that moment.
Yes, so good. Yeah, just passing the torch when it comes to, your responsibilities that you have as a business owner is so challenging. And that was my biggest, learning curve in the beginning of my entrepreneurship journey as well. It's like, I wanted to do it all. Like, you're a small business owner. You want to be the one that meets everybody, that signs everyone up for a new membership. And then when you're trying to coach somebody else on do that, it's like, well, I don't know if they're going to do it as good as I did. And it's so challenging.
It is.
But it's rewarding to see when you can train someone and then they do it well, or they do it even better than you did.
Exactly.
You're like, okay, I picked the right person for this job.
They surprise themselves and they surprise you.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Okay, so what is one unique point of value about your personal growth journey that our audience should adopt? Or what's something that like you've learned over the years that our audience could use?
I think the power of perseverance and developing something that's meaningful to you, like creating a stronger why. So regardless of, if it's been years since you've worked out, you've kind of put your health on the back burner, you've coped with anxiety, you've lost a loved one, just kind of persevering through that by finding something that's meaningful. Whether that be helping other people, which is what I kind of found, just finding something that's bigger than yourself, I think is massive and motivating.
Yeah. Well, and that will get you through those tough times. It really will. Like, if your why is big enough, like you said.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that. So what is one thing that you're most passionate about today as a business owner? What's the thing that just lights you up?
My team.
Your team.
I love how far they've come, and I love growing them and just coaching them up, leveling them up to their highest. And like, furthermore, I think building relationships, that's super important to me too. Not just for myself, but watching them form around me and within the gym. Like that's so meaningful to me. And that's like why I'm doing all the things, is to watch those relationships.
Because we're in the relationship business, not the fitness business, the relationship business.
That's right.
What is the best piece of advice that you've ever received as a business owner?
I would say that comparison is the, what is that saying?
Joy.
Yes, comparison is the thief of joy. Because for so long, especially after being bullied, I would compare myself to others and be like, I'm not good enough, smart enough, pretty enough. And just like what you do when you do that is you just diminish your soul and you diminish what's good about you and unique about you. And it's like, just lean into what makes you different.
Yes.
And you'll have a lot of success there.
I love that. Yeah, I think it's also the thief of creativity, like you pointed out,
100%.
because if you're constantly trying to compare yourself to someone else, then you're trying to be like them. And how are you supposed to tap into your own unique zones of genius and greatness if you're trying to be like someone else all the time?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just be you, laser focused
Exactly.
on you.
That's so valuable as a business owner. All right, share one personal habit that has contributed to your success. So maybe this could be like a daily habit.
Yeah. Personal habit would be, so it's more of a weekly thing. It's big in our household, my fiance and I. Sunday is like our reset. You know, Sunday used to be Sunday fun day, brunch, mimosas.
Right.
Like, that's
Those
what it
were
used
the
to be.
days.
Yeah, right. But now it's like we wake up, we do our chores, clean the house, laundry, walk the dog, and kind of do our meal planning that day. And it ultimately just sets you up for success throughout the week. It's like life will throw you curveballs, but we set the expectations for ourselves and for one another, and it makes, you know, handling the turbulence of life a little bit easier when you have that one thing that you can rely on in the week that's certain and planned out. No Sunday scaries in our house.
So important, so important. Are there any books that you've read recently that you would recommend to our listeners, or any podcasts that you listen to regularly?
Yeah, so I'm like a podcast person because I'm on the go a lot. So it's the Mind Valley podcast. Have you heard of it?
No.
Yeah, so the host is Vishen Lakhiani. It's amazing. We found this podcast about 2-3 years ago, and it's great. He has thought leaders from all over the country, all walks of life, go on, talk about body, spirit, mind, and work. Like it's all connected, because you want to be amazing at all those things in your life. So that's the main one. I think there's something in it for everyone. Like there was this gal come on and she talked about the power of feng shui. Like there's just a lot of cool people that come on, and there's little nuggets for everyone.
I'll have to check that one out. I love that. Okay, so grand finale, what would be one parting piece of wisdom for our audience that would help them on their personal health and fitness journey?
I would say practice compassion towards yourself and just be kind to yourself, give yourself grace, because how you talk to yourself matters. And I'm guilty of saying not the nicest things to myself, but just know that you are human. You're gonna go through ups and downs, and just kind of accept that and lean into it and give yourself some gratitude to be human.
I love that. Yeah, we're our own worst critic all the time, aren't we?
Yep.
And even as coaches, you know, we can preach all day long how people should talk positively about themselves and their body, and here we are critiquing ourselves, and it's like, okay, I need to practice my own advice. And we're human too.
Mistakes will happen, and that's okay.
So I love to ask all of my guests this question, and it is, what does living beyond the scale mean to you?
Living beyond the scale to me means finding wins in everyday life, you know, that don't have numbers attached to it. Things like walking into boot camp for the first time, that's a win. Things like just little moments with your family. I think that beyond the scale is focusing not on just what's physical, but what's within. And you can't put a number on those things.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. Well, Maddie, thank you so much for joining us today. Where can our listeners find you and learn more about your boot camp?
They can go to our Instagram page. It's Arvada Fit Body. And also I have an Instagram. It's Mad Dog Fitness with a W.
Love it.
But yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Well, thank you guys for joining us for another episode of the Beyond the Scale podcast. As always, please make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Apple Podcast or Spotify, and leave us a review. It is my goal to help educate our community on how to live their best lives in and outside of the gym. Thank you for joining us.